All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Quorum call.
Director Black.
Here.
Director Carlo. Present. Director Kreutz. Here. Director Dakotas.
Here.
Director Heath. Here. Director Marian.
Here.
Director Moses.
Here.
Director Meserve.
Here.
Director Sargent.
Here.
Director Silvestri. Here. Board Chair Welch.
Here.
Mr. Nobile.
Here.
Ms. Ryan.
Here.
You have 11 members present and nobody absent.
11 members present. Quorum has been established. A moment of silence for Phyllis Ruth Klepler Vale. Phyllis passed away peacefully on November 2nd, 2025. She dedicated 25 years to teaching 6th grade at Bonnie Eagle Middle School until her retirement in 2003. Phyllis believed deeply in the value of education and enjoyed working with her colleagues and helping to better the lives of her students. Phyllis was an independent, social, and stylish woman whose intelligence and sense of fun made her a joy to be around. She had a wide range of interests that included reading with her book club, traveling, shopping, cooking, assembling puzzles, and playing games, especially at every gathering that she hosted. An avid golfer, Phyllis achieved 3 hole-in-ones during her playing days. Phyllis will be deeply missed and fondly remembered by all those lives she brightened. On behalf of the Bonnie Eagle community, we send our condolences to Phyllis's family. Please join in a moment of silence. Thank you. Acceptance of the agenda. The chair recognizes the vice chair.
I move we accept the agenda as written.
Director Heath moves that we accept the agenda as written. Is there a second? Director Sargent, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All opposed? It's unanimous. Number 6, reading and approval of the November 3rd, 2025 minutes. Is there any objection to waiving the reading? Hearing none. Chair recognizes the vice chair.
I move that we approve the minutes as written.
Director Heath moves that we approve the minutes as written. Is there a second? Director Sargent, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All opposed? 11 members voting in the affirmative. The motion carries. Chair will inquire if there's any public here to have public comment. Seeing none. Consent calendar. The chair recognizes the vice chair.
I move that we accept the consent calendar as presented.
Director Heath moves to accept the consent calendar. Is there a second? Director Dakotas, any discussion? Yes.
Could you just explain to me what a teacher mentor is, please?
Absolutely. Chair recognizes the superintendent.
So we have an obligation to provide mentors to new staff, new teachers. I think it's first-year teachers and anyone on a conditional certificate. And they receive a small stipend for observing, supporting, helping the new teachers. We try to make it somebody in their area, you know, math teacher, that kind of thing.
Are there any questions, other questions? All those in favor? All opposed? 11 members voting in the affirmative. The motion carries. Report from the board chair. I want to give a quick goals update. I'll be working to put together the focus groups, working with the superintendent and the business team to make sure that we have focus groups to look at our buildings, the recent, I guess, choosing of Georgie Jack to potentially receive funding. We want to get the public's comments, so we'll be looking into that and bringing that information back to the board. We will be sending out superintendent evaluations. We're going to be doing the evaluation on January 5th, so that is coming right up. The evaluations will be sent out, will be to the committees. Those evaluations will be for the committee to evaluate how the superintendent has supported the committee and any specific evaluations, opportunities that you want to put in there, you can go ahead and do that. Those will be sent back to me or to Sandy. Individual ones, you can certainly do that if you're part of a committee, but send those back to me or Sandy specifically. These will be, again, due on January 5th, so hopefully take some time during your next meeting or two. The plan is to have enough time to get those completed and sent back so that we can do that evaluation. Our individual evaluations, will do those during that same meeting in executive session. We'll also be sending out the board evaluations that we'll be doing on January 5th. So we'll have both kinds of evaluations on that specific meeting. Those evaluations will likely come closer to December 1st-ish. Around that time, we'll fill those out and have those ready for January 5th to do both of those important pieces of work. I do want to thank Ms. Casey and Georgie Jack and the curriculum team for a wonderful math and muffins. That was on November 21st. I was able to attend for my son, and it was just a great opportunity to see kids learning, having a little bit of food, and participating in math. This is at least the second year that I've gone, and it's just, I think, a great success. So just wanted to make that call out because I was able to go to that. And I just do want to thank again for the unconditional donations and the fall musical sponsors that everybody can see in our consent calendar. I really want to thank the community for the support that they have been providing and continue to provide to our schools. That concludes my report. Are there any questions? Great. Seeing none. Report from the superintendent of schools. Chair recognizes the superintendent.
Thank you. So I think everyone is probably very aware of this, but Thanksgiving break is coming up. So just be aware of that. We have a full school week this week. Then next week, Monday and Tuesday are student days. And then we have a break 26th, 27th, and 28th. And then it will be December. I'm going to provide a brief update. I promise not to bore you or read to you too much on the school goals. The board had met with school administrators and leadership, I think at the end of the summer, early this fall, provided some input. And one of the things we worked on this summer was trying to come up with some measurables, because often the goals are things that are actions or hard to measure, right? It's really good work that's going on, but it's really hard to measure. So what our hope this year is that we've provided some areas that we can share what our targets are, come back at some point in the winter, early spring with an update, and then have some closure on these items before this board convenes in June. Because we've always struggled to do that. I feel like every year I've been in the district, it's been hard to do. So we're going to get it. We're going to get it eventually. So I don't know if this is the magic solution, but there's a lot of work that's gone into this. So these are in board members' packets, but I'm putting it up on the screen if anybody is watching at home and wants to follow along. But the elementary schools decided to do some common goals, which makes a lot of sense. They will have this broken down by their site, but the aggregate we're giving you here is all of the schools by grade level. I will say one of the pieces in doing that is we have a couple of small schools, and if we start breaking things out by school too specifically, it can actually begin to be personally identifiable for some of our small schools, and that's not our intention. So this is about growth and performance. So for all the elementary schools, this is the aggregate data. The first goal is on math, and they're looking to have a 2% growth on these benchmark assessments that actually go along with the new math program, Reveal Math. These are the benchmark assessments. So you can see the 24-25 current level of performance at each grade level on these benchmark assessments, and the goal is to increase them by 2%. And I think we're in the third year of implementation. So that is one of the goals, and we'll be back to update you on that. And then there's a couple of strategies listed for each goal, and a lot of this involves teaching the program with fidelity. The second area for our elementary team and our elementary schools is reading literacy, and they have set a goal to increase reading growth from 68% to 70% as measured by the F&P, which is the Fountas and Pinnell benchmark assessment system. That is an assessment that teachers sit individually with kids and give it. It's not this mass, bubble test like when we were in school, or the computerized tests that are impersonal. And we feel this is a really good measure of kids' performance and growth. So they're going to use that data as the basis for their literacy growth. And the key strategies have to do with literacy instruction and teaching, good teaching practices in literacy. And then the third goal, which really is the underpinning of all the others, which is attendance. If you're not there, you can't learn. And we have definitely, I feel from the data I've seen an increase. There's a lot of effort that's put into attendance, and after, post-COVID, we really struggled because, there were a lot of families that just were nervous about sending their kids to school when they were sick. People had kind of ideas that they should keep their children home at any sniffle, and we've tried to work on that. So the goal here is basically to increase the overall attendance rate by a couple of percentage points, and then to reduce the chronic absenteeism below 15%. So that's different than truancy. You get a report about truancy. That's a very legal definition. Chronic absenteeism, these kids might be excused every one of their absences. It might be, unlikely, but 3 vacations to Paris and a camping trip with the grandparents, right? But they'd be chronically absent. It could be, it could be illness. It could be something, it could be surgery. There could be valid reasons to be out, but if they miss a certain percentage of the year, it's considered being chronically absent. So they want to reduce that rate. And what we're finding is that education is helping little by little, because parents just don't realize sometimes how much it adds up to. When they're shown the data, they're like, oh wow, I didn't realize my child had missed that much school. So there's a lot of strategies with this, but in attendance calendars, incentives, celebrations, communication with families. So those are all some components of that. So those are from our elementary schools. Our middle school has a math goal. So they're going to increase the number of students that are meeting the average benchmark in math on the IXL diagnostic. So that's, again, a very specific measure the middle school uses. The elementary schools do not use IXL, so it's a new measure in middle school. But they have a target there to increase from 37% to 53%, which is, while those numbers are on the lower end, that would be a big increase to hit. So it looks like they're going pretty big with that. And then they also have some strategies that they're going to use to try to accomplish that. You have a literacy goal, again, using the IXL diagnostic and raising the performance from 51% to 60%. And again, some strategies that they will accomplish that by. And their third goal is also attendance related, increasing full day attendance percentage from 83.6 to 86. And then reducing that chronic absenteeism, which you can see was much higher. If you noted, it was 15% at the elementary. It blossoms up to 28.9 in the middle school, through no fault of the middle school. I just want to say that sometimes that's the age group. There's a lot of angst going on and a lot of reasons kids are missing, and so they're going to try to knock that back below 25%. And then you see there's alignment there. That's not accidental. High school's different in how they measure things, because it's not quite as simple just to break it down into literacy and math. So they are looking at, for their first goal area, which is definitely an academic goal, by the end of the 25-26 school year, the percentage of courses passed by 9th grade students will increase in each subject area and the passing rate will be 90%. And so you can see the baseline there. I actually remember talking to Mr. Finn about this as they were setting this goal, and in studying this data, they were actually pretty pleased with it being at a pretty high point, but they want to see it improve. And of course, using Synergy to measure that. A lot of strategies there of how they're going to accomplish that. So that, of course, encompasses pretty much all the academic areas. And then their second goal is similar, it's attendance, and they're going to reduce their chronic absenteeism by at least 5%, and then it lists here what the chronic absenteeism rate has been for the last, I think it's 3 prior years. Again, those are some big numbers, so trying to raise awareness and focus on the importance of being at school. So, and then I forgot, I want to apologize to our adult ed director, Sherry. She was the first one to get this task done, and then I promptly forgot to put it in your packet. So adult ed has also set some goals. Hers are very in-depth, and you may want some time to study these, but she is looking to increase student participation in the post-testing from a baseline of 54% to 61%. And then she offers some explanation here, and I'll be honest, if you ask too many questions about this, I'd have to get back to you, because I bet Kelly might be able to actually answer it better than I could. So then she has a data match rate, she's going to increase student participation in the state's data match reporting from a baseline of 75% to 85%, and then again offers some explanation as to why she has chosen that. And I know she put a lot of care and effort into choosing these goal areas. So those are just an update I wanted to provide, and I'm happy to take any questions that anyone might have about that. The only other item I had to, actually I did have 2 other things, so let me do that and then I'll take questions. Isabel Gendreau was a teacher at Hollis Elementary School, received a grant for the school from STEM for Me through the Main Space Grant Consortium for $985 to purchase water testing kits to use with students. And then we had a math meet, and I did want to share the winners because I feel like these kids worked hard and showed up on a Saturday, so they deserve to have their names read. So I'll go down through these quickly. Arithmetic. The math meet, which I've talked about before, they have tests in arithmetic, problem solving, geometry, then there's a team problem solving, and then there's an overall grade level winners and overall meet winners. And ties are accepted, so it's about how you score, and they take the top 3 scores, including ties, for these first, second, and third places. So for arithmetic, 4th grade, first place was Aiden Marshall at Georgie Jack, second place was Miles Forcier at Georgie Jack, and third place was Paisley Court from Buxton Center. 5th grade arithmetic, first place was Wyatt Colson from HB Emory, and a tie with David Copey from Buxton Center. Second place, 5th grade arithmetic, Samuel Hall from Georgie Jack and Gianna Marden from Buxton Center. And third place was Atticus McGowan from Georgie Jack. 6th grade arithmetic, first place, Jace Gagne from Bonne Eagle Middle School and Evan Rosebush Watson from Bonne Eagle Middle School. Second place in 6th grade was Raphael Wire from Bonne Eagle, 6th grade, it's all going to be Bonne Eagle Middle School. I'll stop saying that. And third place, maybe Gorham snuck in there. We don't know, but I don't think so. Third place, Elise Hedberg in 6th grade arithmetic. Problem solving, 4th grade, first place, Lucas Dunn from HB Emory. Second place, Waylon LaBelle from Buxton Center. And third place, Aiden Marshall from Georgie Jack. 5th grade problem solving, first place, David Copey from Buxton Center and Olivia Zhang from Buxton Center. Second place, Wyatt Colson, HB Emory. Third place, Elliot Dow from Georgie Jack and Samuel Hall from Georgie Jack. And then in 6th grade, problem solving, we have first place, Nelson Dupuy Bab. Second place, Cedric Peary. And third place, Evan Rosebush Watson. And then for geometry, 4th grade, first place was Justin Marshall from Georgie Jack. Second place, Paisley Court from Buxton Center and Waylon LaBelle from Buxton Center. Third place, Fletcher Green, Georgie Jack. 5th grade geometry, first place, David Copey from Buxton Center. Second place, Jack Moriarty from Steep Falls. Hadley Parker from Buxton Center and Nicola Stasny from Steep Falls. Third place, Atticus McGowan from Georgia Jack. And then in sixth grade geometry, we had first place, Evan Rosebush Watson. We had second place, Trip Garish and Cedric Peary, and third place, Caden O'Brien and Elijah Duyard. Team problem solving, and they work on this while all the scoring is being done and everything's being tabulated. First place in team problem solving, Calvin Duyard from Hollis, Elijah Duyard from Bonny Eagle Middle School, Desmond Jeffries from Hollis, Cedric Peary from Bonny Eagle Middle School, Harper Shangra from Hollis, and Nicola Stasny from Steep Falls. Second place, team problem solving, David Copey from Buxton, Lucas Dunn from HB, Jace Gagne from Bonny Eagle Middle, Rowan Joyner from Buxton Center, Connor Pomerleau from Georgia Jack, and Olivia Zhang from Buxton Center. And third place, team problem solving, Miles Forcier from Georgia Jack, James Joyner, Buxton Center, Annie Lewis, Steep Falls, Case Jiang from Georgia Jack, and Ralph Wire from Bonny Eagle Middle School. The fourth grade winner, or winners in this case, overall for the meet was Waylon LaBelle from Buxton Center and Aiden Marshall at Georgia Jack. The fifth grade overall winner was David Copey from Buxton Center. The sixth grade overall winner was Evan Rosebush Watson from Bonny Eagle Middle School, of course. And then the overall meet winner, highest scoring on all tests, David Copey. Cope. Mrs. Mingione is here tonight, and I had a feeling I was stressing the wrong syllable in David's name. So I apologize to David, since he's the overall winner especially. David Cope, let's get it right, Mr. Gleason, Buxton Center Elementary. So those are our math meet winners. I don't have participation numbers, but sure, you can have them.
Congrats to all.
Thanks. So I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Any questions for the superintendent? Director Kreutz.
So I do have a couple of questions, yes. For the goals, love to see the goals. Love to see the focus on increasing our literacy and math skills and upping that attendance. Those are all related, so that's great. For the elementary school, do you know if there's a specific reason why the math percentages were broken out versus an average for literacy? I mean, they're both at 2%, so I mean, I'm sure whatever the literacy is at the individual grade levels, we're looking to move those up. Do you know if there's a reason why we're looking to increase the math specifically at 2% from where they are versus literacy being in general?
I would only be guessing, but I think that some of it has to do with the variance in the math scores. I mean, there's a wide variance across the grade levels, whereas the literacy, it's just across the board, right, an increase in performance. I'm not really sure why they chose to break it out, but I do wonder if it has to do with the way that the measure in math is administered, but I'm not sure. I can ask a little more about that. I don't know. I didn't want to put her on the spot, but Mrs. Mingione, do you have anything to add?
Newness of the benchmarks, we just administered them last year, so we don't really have much to build on for this year yet, so we're kind of trying to see how it's going to stand out over the next 3 years.
Okay, that makes sense. Reveal math is definitely
For
new.
those at home, I
so-
should have had her come to the mic, but because of the newness of the assessment is what the answer.
All right, great. And then I have two more. I'm just going to get them all over with here. It's not a question per se, but so elementary is looking at 2%, middle school is looking at 9 to 16% increases. So kudos to the middle school for a big jump. I will say, I know from my years on the curriculum committee, there is a level of percentage that is statistically, what does she always say, statistically important. Significant, that's the one. So, 2% certainly doesn't sound like a lot, but it can be significant to move a population 2%. So I'm not, although I would love to see it jump 20%, I know there is a level that is reasonable. So if the middle school is not able, it's possible that that's just an exceedingly difficult goal. I think it's still great to strive for it. So just wanted to kind of put that out there in case people were wondering, 2%, why not more? It could be because it's really difficult. And then at the high school, 2 questions about the high school goals. So with the freshman passing rate, Do you know if that's a specific watermark to have the freshmen passing versus other grades? Is it because the freshman curriculum is a little more consistent coming into high school? I mean, I could take some guesses, but do we know why measuring that and having the freshmen be sort of the target?
I do think that it's because it's a little more of a controlled environment, whereas as they get up in grades, there's more variation in what they might be taking, but I don't know. Lori, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's that. I think it's also because the freshman failure rate is typically the highest, and it's also the most significant indicator of whether or not a student will graduate.
Great. That's what I figured, but I would like to ask the question, and then I would just make a comment with that, and I will return the microphone. I hope that the teachers, so I think this is a great goal. I just really hope our freshman teachers don't feel any pressure, either from themselves, from their kids, or from the administration to artificially inflate that by giving better grades to, squeak those grades up to make it a higher passing grade. I would encourage our teachers to continue to take the high ground and hold our kids accountable. We have pretty high standards at Bonnie Eagle, and I think it does nothing but help our kids succeed in the real world to hold them accountable for the standards that we are asking for them. So I just want to say that in my out loud voice, that let's not artificially inflate it just to meet the goal. Let's have our kids meet it legitimately. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Jacotis.
Thank you. I have a question about, on the adult education goals, the data match rate. I'm not sure I understand what that means, please.
Director Heath.
For federal reporting, adult education students that are served with our federal AFLA grant require that they have, after exit, their second quarter after exit, they have employment outcomes. So the data match rate is having students sign a Social Security release document and submit their Social Security number so they can participate in the state data match. Yeah, you're welcome. You can't make your employment targets after and show the great work that you did and that your students are going on and being gainfully employed if you're not participating in the data match. So that data match rate is an important indicator. Yeah.
Other questions? Great. Seeing none?
I have a question.
Director Heath.
Sorry. I just wanted to know, when should we expect the results from the goals to see how we ended up comparing? Is that year end or this year, next year at this time?
The hope would be there would be an update in the middle of the year, at least with some of it. I don't know if we'll have updates for all of these items, but for the ones we can, because some of these measures, I know they're, like for the elementary, there's a winter administration of the F&P, for example. I'm not sure about the reveal assessments. That might be something. Okay. There should be data points that we can provide updates, but definitely by, I would hope, the first meeting in June. That's the latest that we could really wrap it up, because the second meeting's all about changing over the board. But hoping for at some point an update in the mid-year, and then by the end of May, first meeting.
I'm super
in June.
excited for that. I wanted to make sure that we got the results. Thank you.
Director Jacotis.
Sorry. I was at a Buxton Select Board meeting, I think last week, and the fire department chief was there. I was asking him about evacuation, disaster planning, and he said that he had begun working with MSAD6. I was just wondering if you could give us a little update on what that's all about. Thank you.
Well, we have been doing significant work on our emergency plans over the last couple of years, and Lori organized a meeting this fall with all of our first responders, and I think I did provide an update after we had that meeting, and I think that's what he's referencing. It isn't just specifically to Buxton, it's to all the towns. We invited Art Cleaves, the York County Emergency Management person, and received positive feedback from everyone who participated. It was so they can understand what our plans are, they could understand that we're using the Alice, philosophy in all of our training, and we gave them copies of our updated plan. So I think that's what he's talking about. And then I think we plan to stay in touch and keep updated as things evolve, and the different schools are working with their respective agencies in their towns. Like I know Hollis has a couple of parents that are on the regional SWAT team, and so their students go to that school, so they've been very invested in helping the principal there, observe evacuations and provide input and helping with tabletop drills and things like that. So I think that's probably what he's referencing.
Great. Any other questions? Seeing none, the student report.
Thank you. We are going to begin with the high school. The Bonnie Eagle High School Student Council hosted a special Veterans Day assembly this past Monday. We had local veterans from our community as special guests. There were performances by our school chorus, band, and our NJROTC. I was delighted to be in charge of organizing this event and delivering another successful one that was very well received by our guests. Our mock trial team participated in their first mock trial competition this past Saturday at the York County Courthouse, and they will be at it again this Saturday as well. The outing club will be going to rock climbing at the Salt Pump in Scarborough on Monday, November 17th from 4 to 7. The Bonnie Eagle High School drama program is excited to present The Little Mermaid. There will be a performance on November 21st at 7 p.m. and 2 performances on November 22nd at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. At Hollis, the Hollis Grange generously donated brand new dictionaries for every one of the third graders. The students were so excited to receive them, and we're grateful for the Grange's continued support of the school and our community.
Moving on to Georgie Jack. Georgie Jack families enjoyed a morning math and muffins event on Friday with the highest turnout ever. The families enjoyed some breakfast treats while playing math games and enjoying family time. And both Georgie Jack and Steep Falls will be hosting parent-teacher conferences next week. Next at Steep Falls, the fifth graders presented both the math volume animal projects and state projects for the entire school to enjoy. And Steep Falls kindergarten students participated in their annual pumpkin parade, marching through the school while sharing their decorated pumpkins from Pumpkin Valley Farm. Lastly, at Edna Libby, as part of Miss Micho's Underwater Explorer Week, BEHS science teacher and local lobsterman Kate Dumont stopped by to share her expertise with some of the students, providing them with a fun and hands-on learning opportunity they might not have otherwise.
The middle school had nothing to report, Buxton Center had nothing to report, and HB Emory had nothing to report, but I did put together a specialized youth and government report as we had that program just a few weekends ago. A group of 5 students from the high school got to participate in the YMCA Youth and Government program held at the Maine State Capitol from November 7th to November 9th. Students from across the state all came together to run their own legislature representing the legislative, executive, and judicial branches through various positions ranging from youth governor to a Supreme Court justice. Sienna and I have had the immense pleasure of participating in this program all 4 years of high school, and it is no lie that it is my favorite program and weekend of the year. Over the years, I've been a representative, a youth governor's candidate, and my favorite position, the Secretary of State, twice. Sienna was a representative a few times and the Supreme Court justice 1 year. This year, I was the Senate Chair of the Appropriations Committee, where I was able to lead a committee of 15 people through the bills we processed and to send to the House and Senate later on. Sienna was a representative and what committee? Education Committee? Yeah. The next day, we moved to the chambers where I served as a senator and led debate, placing myself as the sort of majority leader in there. But it was a great way to serve out my last year. Sienna and I were both recognized, along with 3 others, for being in the program all 4 years, and we received a great red, white, and blue cord for graduation. It's bittersweet thing to say goodbye to this program we've both loved, but we give a special thanks to Miss Donna Sear for putting up with us all these years.
Great job and congratulations. Are there any questions for the student representatives? Great reporting. Thank you very much. On to preliminary 2026-2027 budget development update. The chair recognizes the superintendent.
Yes, I'm going to display on the screen, but I'm going to let our business manager, Dawn Pooler, take the actual hard work of reporting.
So I was asked to put together a little update on our budget development. We're still in the very early stages, preliminary stages of assembling key data and identifying factors that will influence our budget. In October, my department sent out requests to all of the department heads and the principals and asked them to verify their current staffing levels. And we asked them to not only, who works in their building, but if they're hourly people, how many hours they work. We want to build a budget based on what we actually have. And we also asked them to prepare their non-labor budgets. And those were all given back to us on the 31st. So this week and last week and next week, we've been meeting with all the department heads and principals, and we're going over all the data that was submitted. The good news so far is we've asked for non-labor. We've asked them to come in flat, and most of them have been able to. If they have any unmet needs, we're asking them to identify those as well. I want you to be aware that we have 3 contracts that have been negotiated, so those are what we're going to build into the budget for next year. We have one contract that is to be negotiated, and I've met with a member of the negotiations committee, and there's a meeting tomorrow night. What I'm looking for from them is guidance as to what they want me to place in the budget so that they can negotiate in good faith. But I want to have the number in there moving forward.
Dawn, before you go on to insurance, I just wanted to say a little bit more about this process. So I do want to compliment Dawn on how she has approached the budget building, which is a little bit different than what I have experienced before. This is a very precise. This is what we tried to do last year, and each year we do it. It gets more refined. Last year, the meetings with the principals and managers were a lot more, they were less streamlined, let's just say, because everyone was sort of adjusting to what the expectations were. But these meetings have gone really smooth. The principals and managers have understood what they've been asked to do. And, people always, the community members will often say, like, why can't you come in with a flat budget? Well, there's so many things that are out of our control, but these are more controlled costs, and this is exactly what we're asking them to do, is to come in basically at a flat budget for this year. And the question Dawn is asking everyone at the end of the meeting is, what are the things that you weren't able to do with this budget because you didn't have an increase? And in a few cases, there's a couple things that are coming up, but for the most part, we don't think there are things that are going to harm students or their educational levels. And then I think the staffing conversation has been very rich because it really does cause people to think about what they have for staffing and do they have the right number of people in the right positions and everything's accounted for. And sometimes we're uncovering an opening that was being carried on the books that isn't being used. And it's just been, I think it's been a very good process. And that was all, sort of what Dawn has brought to the table. So, thank you.
Thank you. Insurance and other considerations, other cost considerations. For our property insurance premiums, we have received a preliminary estimate of 9% increase, so we're going to plug that number in. Health insurance increase, we're not going to get that released until early April. Hopefully by then our budget will be developed and approved or on the way to approval by the board. Based on our past experience and current loss run ratios, I'm sick just saying it, but a 20% increase is not unrealistic. And if you Google, go online and look at the businesses and where health insurance is in the world right now, or in the United States. This is not an unrealistic number. We are still looking at, we have a company called Hub, and they are looking at an option outside of our Anthem through MEABT. I don't have any of those numbers yet, but we are looking. Our revenue outlook is, our one major source of income other than local taxpayers is the state. And we won't get that until late January, early February. Right now, we're going on the premise that, hopefully it stays somewhat the same, but we'll know those numbers for sure, and we'll be able to make adjustments at that time. What I'm asking from you is some guidance. I would prefer to know what you would consider an acceptable increase to the tax assessment to go to, I would prefer to build a budget knowing what that number is, so that when we come to you, you're not surprised. We can build around that, and if it's not possible, we can come back to you and say, if we were to come back at the number you wanted, we would have to cut, six positions, or we would have to do something drastic to cut. But we could come to you with something that hopefully would be palatable to you and that you would find palatable to the stakeholders. So hopefully you can give me some of that feedback. Next steps, we're going to continue refining the staffing and the non-labor expenditures estimates. Again, we're still meeting with those people. We need to establish the placeholder figures for the unsettled bargaining unit and the, we also have some non-bargaining employees, so we need some parameters around that. As I said, our projected health insurance increase, I really feel that the best course of action is to put 20% in there. And then anticipated state revenue projections, we can make those adjustments once they come out. And just continue to update things as more information becomes available.
Great, thanks, Ms. Puller, and I appreciate giving us some insight into this process, as we are quite early in it. But we're committed to full transparency and providing information to the board members, providing information to the public. Some of these are known, some of these are unknown at this point. So certainly we'll open up to any questions people have at this point, just bearing in mind that we don't have a lot of the answers yet. We'll still have our BAC is going to help us in this process as well. So are there any questions at this point? Director Heath.
My big overall question is, I think it's great that you're soliciting some guidance from the school board. How should we go about that? Is that been established with the Finance and Facilities Committee, or are we coming together? I want to make sure that I provide some guidance, so what would next steps be?
Dawn brought that up at the end of our last finance meeting, and we really haven't had a chance as a committee to discuss the number. I think we all have numbers that are circulating in our head, but I'd like to have a consensus of the finance and facilities before we put any numbers out there. That being said, given the current climate, we want to come in with a very responsible budget. And last year, we came in with some numbers that I thought were incredible. I don't know if we can follow up or not. We're going to have some increases in different things, so. But we'll have the next meeting and we'll have numbers.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Sargent.
Any other questions? Great, seeing none, thank you so much for the report, Ms. Pooler. Report from committees. Committee on Policy and Rules, report of November 3rd, 2025. Chair recognizes Director Carlo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Committee on Policy and Rules met on November 3rd here at Central Office. The committee reported out 2 resolutions for first reading, which are on tonight's calendar for our review. Resolution 12 establishes policy EBBD titled Temperature Standards for Schools. The 132nd Legislature recently required school boards to adopt temperature standards. I spoke about this briefly at the last school board meeting. So we were required to establish temperature standards, a minimum and a maximum temperature range for our school buildings. The resolution complies with this legislation and defines the temperature range as being somewhere between 68 degrees Fahrenheit and 82 degrees Fahrenheit. When the temperature is outside of this standard, the schools will take steps to ensure student and staff comfort by opening windows, turning on fans, activating air conditioning where it's equipped, and on days of extreme heat, provide for the rescheduling of important tests and exams if needed. It's important to note that if the temperature is outside of the temperature range, that does not necessarily mean that school will be delayed, dismissed, or canceled. That decision will be made by the superintendent as necessary. But this still is a significant step for improving student comfort and working conditions for our employees. Resolution 13 amends policy code JIE on pregnant students. The resolution reflects changes in statutory references. So consequently, the title of affirmative action officer has been removed, but we are keeping the title of Title IX coordinator. All of the responsibilities of this position remain the same, except the title is being proposed to be changed. Also, on October 20th, the board transmitted resolutions 7 and 8 to the Committee on Policy and Rules. We met earlier tonight, and we articulated, I think, a reasonable settlement. However, the resolutions will remain in the possession of the Policy Committee until staff have sufficient time to draft the amendment. Nevertheless, I expect that the board will receive these policies, these resolutions in time for the next school board meeting. I'm hopeful about that. So I just wanted to provide an accounting of our work so far on that issue and report out.
Great, thank you very much for the report. Are there any questions? Seeing none, are there any other committees that would like to report at this time? Seeing none, resolutions for first reading. Chair recognizes Director Carlo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I request unanimous consent that the readings of the resolutions be dispensed with and that the first reading of the resolutions be considered made.
Great. And moving on. Resolutions for second reading. Chair recognizes Director Carlo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the adoption of resolutions 9, 10, and 11.
Is there a second? Director Sargent, discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? It's unanimous with 11 directors voting in the affirmative. The motions carry. Number 16, notifications of scheduled meetings. Tuesday, November 18th, 2025, Committee on Curriculum, 5:30 p.m. in the conference room. Tuesday, November 18th, 2025, at 4 p.m., Committee on Negotiations in the conference room. Monday, December 1st, Central Office Library, Committee on Policy and Rules at 4:30 p.m. And Monday, December 1st, 2025, the regular board meeting at 6 p.m. here in the Central Conference Room. Chair will inquire if there are any other notifications of scheduled meetings that need to be made at this time. Seeing none, for adjournment, the chair recognizes the vice chair.
I move we adjourn.
Director Heath moves to adjourn. Is there a second? Director Black, all those in favor? All opposed? It's unanimous. The board is adjourned until December 1st.